Welcome to the 5th episode of Sawdust Nation with Josh from North Country Woodworking and AJ from Crafted in New Jersey. What's going on, Josh?
Oh, not much, man. Just another week down.
Yeah, I hear you. So, as we usually start, what's on your bench?
Oh, let's see. Not much different from last week. I finally got to go in, start doing some things in the old office, workshop, whatever you want to call it. And, I got some more done on the mallets, quote unquote. They're coming along. The handle is glued together. I basically took 2 pieces of cherry, glued them together, and I've been making the handles out of there. Once those are glued up, cleaned up, and I got the final dimensions, I'm going to go ahead and start on the actual hammer part. And, that way I know where to cut and basically make room for that handle.
Nice.
Yeah. So once that's all done, I glue the mallet head and the hammer head together. Basically clean that up, put it under the laser, get some detail on it. I'll be almost done with it. So it's coming along. Just now that I can get in the shop almost every day again, that's going to help a lot. And hopefully this weekend I'll have, something to show you guys.
Cool. Now, I know you were talking about possibly putting metal beads inside for extra weight. Is that still going to happen, or are you going to leave it just as wood?
I can't just leave it just as wood. I'm going to definitely go ahead and put some BBs inside, just like a regular mallet. I measured the rough amount, what it might be. I still got material to remove. It's going to be about 6 to 8 pounds, depending.
Wow.
Yeah. But I want to make it like an even 10-ish. So we're going to see if we can accommodate that at all.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. So it's a fun build. I'm having a lot of fun with it, figuring out the angles and everything. I had some instructions on like the actual, Thor hammer and how that's been built and all the angles, but I'm, adding my little twist to it and making it my own. So it's gonna look like it, but it's gonna be my way.
Nice. Well, it sounds like a good build. Anything else on your bench?
Not on the bench, but in the shop. So in the shop, I was talking about clearing out a space and what I was going to do with it. And today I moved all my hardwood slabs in that corner and kind of made room for my son's bikes up there. So that's a good addition to the shop. I have more room and able to maneuver a little bit more than I could before. Other than that, everything kind of looks the same. It's just more room in the entrance where all those slabs were. I moved the joiner down, my Prize and my Joy bandsaw, and it looks the same, it operates the same. I just have a new location to store some wood. And then looking at my wood storage, I definitely have to start utilizing what I have. I have a lot of wood in that in my workshop.
Yeah, and you're picking up more over the past weekend, making me a little jealous with all that nice ash, and I believe you said it was the hickory with that crazy grain on it.
Yeah, I got some hickory, I got some ash, walnut, cherry, and sassafras.
Sassafras?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I've never heard of anything.
Sassafras. There we go. I think that's it. If not, then you guys can have a good laugh on our account out there. But I got quite a few different wood species, hardwood, and at a really good price. So, I'm going to be utilizing that. I'm just going to let them dry out for a little while, and I have some plans with them already, especially with the hickory.
Nice. And where'd you pick them up? Because I've never been to this place.
New Jersey Wood Forever. It's a great place. I'm going to say New Egypt, but they are moving. So their location, they don't want to, announce quite yet. They want to move in, get set up, and then we do a formal announcement on where they're going to be moving. But great owner, Mike. You can go down there usually, and he'll help you. If you don't know anything about woodworking, if you're just getting into this, and go, hey, I need hardwood. He'll ask for what? He'll ask you what you're doing with it, and he'll lead you to the slab or the material that he believes, in his experience, will work for you. That alone, it's a great resource to have. I mean, he helped me when I first went out there, and I'm like, hey, man, I need material for cutting boards. And he's like, okay, what kind of end grain, face grain? I'm like, both. And, he hooked me up, and he's a great woodworker as well. So he's just great for the community and really good resource to have. So if you haven't checked him out, go ahead and look him up on Instagram or Facebook. Reach out to him, and he'll help you out in every way you can.
Nice. I always see his posts, and, they got tons of stuff from big logs to big slabs to, just run of the mill kind of stuff. But everything looks unique, and it's not, just a big box store. And I'm thinking that, because I didn't read into it a little bit, but is it more of that of course they don't go out and just cut down trees. It's stuff that has fell, and it's kind of recycled almost.
Yeah.
Not recycled. That's a bad word.
No, that's exactly what it is. It's essentially he takes trees that have fell or a word service has cut down a tree, and they'll bring them to him and he recycles them. So there is another good reason why the prices are much better than a normal place. I mean, he has all these logs from, tree services and whatnot, and he cuts them up. You could choose an entire log, and you can say, hey, I want 3 inches per slab, and he'll make it happen because he has a portable mill right there. So, I mean, it's definitely worthwhile to go check him out, especially if you have a certain slab thickness or anything special you want cut up.
Well, that's even better to know that he can do it, on the spot. Now, for me, they're about 2 hours away, so I'm kind of hoping that the move is maybe a little bit in the middle of you and myself. If by any chance if they're, I know you said you can't say where they're moving, but do you know if they're going north or south?
I'm gonna hold off on that information for now. He kind of wanted to keep it under wraps for now and have a big announcement. I'm gonna respect that.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that a little closer, because, man, that 2 hour drive one way was tempting, but man, I couldn't do it the last weekend, especially when you called me and told me, hey, they're running a real good sale on some wood, and I was thinking like, man, I can get down there and pick some stuff up after. Especially I saw that ash, that stuff was gorgeous. That grain was immediately drew my eye to it.
Yeah, I was looking at it today when I was moving it, and I already know what I want to do with it. I'll let it dry out a little bit, and I'm definitely going to make it into like a coffee table. I'm not going to do much to it, fill in the gaps with some epoxy. Colored, I don't know yet. We'll see, when I clean it up, what it looks like.
I worked with, it was S4S ash from a place that I go to because it's not too far from me, but it's boards and beams in, I forget where they are. They're on, But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's somewhere in Jersey. But, they got tons of different woods. But I picked up this one piece of wood. I knew it was ash at the time, put it on the rack. And, of course, I forgot about it until I saw it again. And I didn't mark on it at all, hey, this is a piece of ash. So I'm looking at it going like, I don't remember. So I find the old receipt and figured out it was ash. And I used some wipe-on poly. And I have to say, because I didn't want a true shine to it or sheen, so I just tried on wipe on poly. I put one coat on, I buffed it out a little bit, and man, I have to say it actually brought out the grain enough that you can tell what it is, and it gives it this depth of, it's not a piece of wood. It brings the character out. So maybe even just some wipe on poly would even bring out the true beauty of that, instead of, because you were talking about staining possibly, right?
Oh, not the ash. No.
Okay.
I meant, what I was trying to say is epoxy. I'll put some epoxy on there, fill in the gaps, depending on what color, once I clean it up, I might decide on a color of epoxy to go ahead and do, the gap fills, but, or clear. It really depends on what the piece is saying at the time.
Yeah. When you said color, I immediately went to stain because I got stain on my brain for something I'm building. So that's where I thought you were going with that.
Yeah, I definitely will be not staining that piece. It is too beautiful to touch with stain. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and build it and then see if, someone wants to, purchase it.
Cool. Well, sounds like some good stuff that's happening in your shop. And it's good that you're getting back in there, more time in the shop and get some things knocked out.
Definitely nice, man. So what's going on in your bench? I know you have some things in the works.
Yeah, well, just like always, I got 4 flags downstairs that are drying right now. One was a Brazilian flag, a Portugal flag, Italian, and a traditional American. So they're little 2-foot flags, flat, not wavy. And the reason that they're taking so long to clear is that I have to clear all sides, front and back, and all the sides, because I have to do a spar urethane because they're possibly going to be used outside. They wanted the option that if they wanted to put them outside, they could. So I'm clearing those with probably 3 or 4 coats all over. And it's actually coming out well. And my story last night, so on Monday night, I was talking about the poly that I'm using. And I didn't like it at first because I didn't like how it was spraying. I didn't like how it was laying. And I was getting bubbles. And so I finally figured out I can't use the brown paper bag trick on it. It's not like polyacrylic where you lay a coat down, you wait until it dries, and then you can buff it out with the brown paper bag.
Yeah.
I actually had to use 400 grit sandpaper. And since I had 4 flags, I tried different ways on all 4 of them. And one of them, I sanded down so it was really nice and smooth, applied a next coat, and once it dried, I mean, it is almost like glass. So now I know for this spar urethane to definitely sand it. Because I kind of got away from sanding after I started using that brown paper bag. It was a little bit different for me, and I didn't really want to sand it too much, but I went a little crazy on one of them, and it actually turned out much better than I thought. Because I'm like, man.
What grit are you using?
400.
400? Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't go any higher than 4?
No, because that's kind of what was in arm's reach. So I just kind of grabbed it and tried it because I had maybe 1 air bubble that I had to kind of smooth out a little bit, and I knew the 400 would take it down. I have used 800 or 1,000 before with the polyacrylic. I noticed it worked, but it didn't work for me. Maybe I was doing it wrong. So the little bit extra grit kind of helped down the fibers of the wood and also the poly. And the reason I say the fibers of the wood is because I'm using that water-based Minwax stain. One thing I noticed is it's completely different than the oil-based. When you apply the water-based, it actually pops the grain a lot. And
It sure does.
Yeah, so I didn't sand them down prior to me putting poly on them. So now I kind of have to do double the work because now I put the poly. And I really have to go and smooth it out. So I'm learning as I go. I mean, spar urethane's completely new to me, and it's growing on me. Let's put it that way. I still love my polyacrylic, but if I have to do something outdoor, I will be using the spar urethane again. For flags, I actually just got an inquiry about a 5 by 3 foot flag, and the guy wants it wavy. And I actually talked to Peter over at Petrie's workshop about types of wood that I should be using and types of clear because this guy wants it outdoors all the time except during the winter. So gave him a few different prices and on different options. So we could either do a pine or cedar. On that build, I'm not going to use spar urethane. I was going to, but then Peter talked to me about Total Boat Helicon, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that, if he approves the build. And we'll see from there. But besides flags, I actually have a pretty exciting build that isn't woodworking. It's a metal rose that I got commissioned to make. I actually made one a while back for Kim, and I love how it turned out. I never posted it up. I can't believe I didn't. I really like how it came out. So somebody messaged Kim and said, can he make one? And I'm like, yeah, why not? So I got started on that the other day. Now I just have to grab my Pop's welder and weld it all up and then call it a day and get it shipped out. So it's almost done. It's about like 90% done. Put the finishing touches on it and that'll be done as well.
How long does it take you to do a rose like that?
I'm trying to think. I got because the stem is, I want to say like 1/4 inch square stock. I could be lying on that. I just don't remember the sizing of it. Actually, it's 3/8. That's what it is. It's 3/8 square stock. And what I did was I heated it up and did a twist on it, but I just didn't go in one full rotation. I would twist it about halfway. I'd twist it back the other way. So it's got a lot of character to it. And making the petals, it probably took me 45 minutes between the twist and making the petals. So I could probably knock one out in at least an hour or so.
Well, that's pretty quick. I
Yeah.
mean, you showed me a picture, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The stem, the way you do it, adds so much character. It looks like a real rose. It's not the straight stem you get most time when you see a metal rose. that character in it just adds so much, detail to the actual piece itself.
Now, for this, this commissioned build, I'm using a lot thinner square stock, but on that first one that I showed you, that stuff was some heavy duty square stock, and it took a coworker and myself. He was holding the torch, heating up the metal, and then I actually had 2 bars on it trying to twist it. That's how thick it was. So the 3/8 stuff is a lot thinner, so it was much easier that I could do it myself. But yeah, I mean, even the other rows, it probably took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to make. So it wasn't terribly hard. And I cheat on it a little bit because I found a video a while back on how to do it kind of in an easy way. So instead of, because usually a lot of people do templates, they draw it out and then cut the petals. And this one just makes you cut a round circle, and then you cut little cross hatches into it and drill a hole in the center, and then you just kind of fold everything together. So you place it all down, and then you start folding the center, the next one, and the next one, and then you have a metal rose.
Well, you would never know. I mean, like I said, it was definitely crafted in New Jersey.
Yes, the very first one was crafted in Carlstadt, New Jersey.
Well, it still counts.
So I got a lot of different things going on my bench right now between wood and metalworking. And then I might actually have a commission for some farmhouse shelves coming up, so I'm not sure about that. Actually, it's for the person who bought the coin rack that I delivered last week, was it? Yeah, last week.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, so they picked that up, and they messaged me, said that the person they gifted it to loved it. I'm waiting on pictures when it's all filled. And then they also asked me, they said, hey, I want you to do a few other things for me. And one of them would be to do a set of farmhouse shelves. So I know they went on vacation. They said, once I come back, then we'll discuss it even, a little bit more in depth, see what size and whatnot. So I got a lot of stuff coming up. And the biggest thing that I really want to do after all this, the flags are all done, the roses all done, I want to get my shop clean. I have to apologize.
That's
to
a dream.
Oh my God. In my stories, my shop is a disaster. I got stuff piled up everywhere, and that's one of I got like a little 4-foot section cleaned up, just before we hopped on today. But it feels so good. I'm like, wow, I actually could see my workbench again. It's not piled with all this stuff. So.
Yeah, moving that new space, I had to move a bunch of stuff around too. And that alone has made it so like my finished pieces no longer really have a space at the moment. Everything that I was kind of storing in that corner is kind of displaced in this shop. So it actually looks worse than it really is right now because it's just moving things around, trying to find that workflow, which never changes. But I think in the end it's going to be good. I'm hopefully going to get some more lumber racks and put some over there, kind of kitty corner it so it's like an L shape. Mm-hmm. Put some 4-foot stock over there and smaller, kind of clean up my other wood rack. And I'm going to do some scrap wood challenges here and try to get some of the wood that I currently have, made and, sold. And that way I can just kind of, clean up the shop because, I don't know about you. I'll start a project, and what happened is it's like a whirlwind. It goes through the shop. I'll use everything. I try to put it away. I really do. But in the end, does it really happen? No. So I'll wait to the end. I clean it up. I start a new project, or a shop project, and it's a vicious cycle. It truly is.
Oh yeah. It's once you start one project, it just never ends, and then that pile of tools and whatnot just grows and grows and grows. And I keep looking at it going, I'll get to it. I'll eventually get to it. And next thing I know, I go, well, let me at least work on this. And see, I don't know about you, but if I start something while that's, half done, then I start something else. And then while that's one's half done, then I start another one. And then I look and I'm 5 projects deep and none of them are finished yet. Now I'm scrambling to get them all done. And the shop is just a disaster with half-finished projects. Eventually, they all get done and everybody's happy. But, man, it drives me nuts every time I do it. Because I always say, I'm going to work on that project, get it done, move on to the next one. But I go, it's easy. You know, I've made flags before, so I could just, make like 5 of them at a time, and it never works out the way I want it to.
I also find like, I was in and out of the shop like maybe once a week the last couple of weeks, and I left it a mess. Mm-hmm. And anytime I leave it a mess and I stop for even a day or two, when I go back in there, it's like slow motion because like I have to put some things away just to get started again. It's almost like I don't want to go in there because it's, a mess. So I walk in today and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to have to do some of the cleaning. I got some of the mallet done and basically to a point where I had to wait, all the layouts done. Everything's been glued that needs to be glued at that point in time. Because I don't want to cut that head until I know the actual dimensions of that handle. So, I roughed it out and kind of, got to a stopping point. Started the rest of the projects I'm trying to do in the shop. And man, I'm telling you, it was just like I wasn't in my groove. My flow wasn't there. It was a rough start to getting back in there. But it seems like that's the case every time I take a little, time off.
Yeah, it definitely is. I know that feeling when you, because I walk through my garage to get into my house every single day, and every time I leave in the morning and go, I'm gonna clean this up when I get home. When I get home, I go, I'm not going to clean this up today. Let me go upstairs for a second. And then, next thing you know, I'm passed out on the couch. And then I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go downstairs now and especially clean up. It's stressful. You go.
Very, yep.
Especially when you have so much to clean up, you go, where do I start? I know they always tell you, just pick a spot and start from there. But I'm like, but what if I don't want to start there? I don't even know where I want to start. So how can I start somewhere? So I had to get my bench at least cleaned off. So that was an accomplishment. Got that box that's being a wonderful challenge of mine. I got more complete, but I'm having an issue with the barrel hinges because I cheaped out on those barrel hinges and got like these real chintzy things. And I should have done my research prior. Just because they don't work out so well. And what happens is the top doesn't sit flush with the box itself. It actually sits on a slight angle.
Oh, no.
So like the back end is up a little bit. I can live with it because it's not, it's not real bad. But I'll have to post up some pictures of it and see.
With that box, does he want it to be able to close all the way and be flush all the way around? Because with that, you could put a little spacer in the front to kind of like even that out in there, or even put some trim that like overhangs and covers that.
That was my thought of kind of evening it out. Put a little block or so, not a little block, but like a little foot so it would sit on that. Now the other thing that I didn't think of is when I bought these barrel hinges. After I installed them, after I got the top on, I come upstairs, I hop on the computer and I type in how to install barrel hinges. When I saw this video, I saw this one that I was looking at and I went, why didn't I pick these up? What actually happens is it picks the lid up a little bit so the back end doesn't hit. Well, the ones that I have sit down so far that the top and the box actually hit, so it wouldn't open. What I had to do was I had to do a chamfer on both the box and the top.
Okay, yeah.
So, like I said, I'll have to take some pictures of it, post it up, and see what everybody thinks about it. And maybe I could have some tips for the next box build because I want to build another one for myself, just so that I can maybe tweak it a little bit. I still have not unboxed that dovetail jig that you and I were talking about from Porter Cable.
Oh yeah.
It's still in the box, and it's collecting a lot of dust. So eventually I'll get to it.
If you're going to build boxes and you want any kind of joints, that is a great resource to have, as long as you're not trying to do finger joints.
Well, that's the other reason I want to get it unboxed and, try it out to see if I can somehow figure out, what was going on with yours, or mine's probably the same way. Who the hell knows?
So for those of you guys that are not on Instagram, haven't, or not followed me during my escapade during this box that I was building, I bought this Porter Cable joint jig, and it does everything. It's supposed to do dovetails. It's supposed to do half-line joints. It's supposed to do finger joints or box joints, whatever you want to call them. I was going to originally do dovetails and call it a day. Well, I really wanted the classic look of the finger joints. I don't know why, but I was on a mission to complete that. Well, I sat down for probably a week, maybe about a week, right? Man, I just could not figure it out. I went step by step of every video I could find on the YouTube. On the YouTube. No. The YouTube.
On the internet.
It was, it took me an hour to log on. But yeah, I actually reached out to people on Instagram that I know had this jig, and most of them came back with, well, we don't use finger joints. We bought it for the dovetail, just like I did. But I was being stubborn, and I really wanted to do it. I thought I figured it out, but then when I did, there was like a 1/16 inch gap, and then I tried different ways, and there was a 1/16 overlap. It was just horrible. Now, it's probably just me. I was probably just missing something, or, I overlooked something, because it's, the human factor. Mm-hmm. But if anyone listening has that jig and does finger joints just fine, DM me, get a hold of me, contact Sawdust Nation, and teach me, please. If you're going to do dovetails or half-line joints and that jig, you'll be fine. They're extremely easy. I ended up going with dovetail, which in the end was a better look anyway. The customer loved it. I'd definitely be using that jig again. Actually, I think when things start slowing down just a little bit, I will be doing like a 30-day challenge of just doing boxes. Different types of boxes, different types of joints, and trying to hone my skill in the whole box department.
I'm actually going to bring everybody behind the scenes a little bit. I'm just trying to find the model number of that dovetail jig, because there are, I think, 2 of them, because the jigs, I think, don't do the same thing as each other. So
they do. They're just different. They come with different plates.
Oh, okay.
So like if you get one model number, it will be just, the 1 or 2 different size joints. If you get the Supreme or the top of the line, it will give you all the plates, and you can do different sizes. And the difference in price, I think, is like $50 between the 2.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Yeah, I did go with the top of the line one because I wanted to be able to do the different sizes. And I tried I can't remember the sizes, or I would just repeat the sizes, but I think it's like 1/4 inch finger joints, and then there's a 1/2 inch finger joint, and same thing with the whole dovetail. Don't quote me. I would have to look it up to actually, give you some good information on that. But from memory, that's what's coming up. So
yeah, I keep looking at the box. I actually just moved it today to under the bench when I was cleaning up, and I go, why haven't I unboxed this damn thing yet? And let me just try it one day. I mean, I literally opened the box and went, ooh, it looks nice. I closed the box and went, I don't need it right now because I don't have any orders for boxes. And then when I did get the box, I went, oh no, now I have to learn how to use it. And then I panicked and said, I'm not going to, want to set it up. I don't know how to use it. So let me just, figure something else out. And then I did half lap joints, which I drove myself crazy. If you saw my stories, I drove myself crazy trying to think of a joint to use that wasn't going to make me have to unbox that Porter cable, because I don't know, it's a fear of mine. I don't want to unbox it yet because it's holding stuff up. Like it's like a place to put other stuff. So I don't want to, have to unbox it. And now it's out on the bench with all my other tools. I have enough stuff around. But eventually I'll get to use it. But I believe that was a Porter cable 4216.
It is. That sounds familiar.
So the other thing that I know I can relate to your frustration with it, it says it can do box joints. So why can't it do box joints?
I literally went on video with someone that had it, and we took measurements of both of ours to ensure that it wasn't just a defect in mine. Mm-hmm. And the bits, the spacing between the teeth, everything measured exactly the same. We're doing millimeters, and it was perfect, right on. So I even tried different bits that didn't come with the kit, because when you get the kit, they actually give you the bits for the appropriate jig. So, I tried different bits, and the error was still following it no matter what size I used. So, I will revisit that and try to, even maybe write to Porter Cable and be like, hey, am I missing something here? But, I did see a couple of reviews that people did have the same issue. And then there are other people who are like, we did just fine. So maybe there's a trick out there. And if you know it, let me know.
Yeah, right. I'll eventually get mine unboxed, and I'll probably let you know in a few, probably 10 years, that mine doesn't do box joints either.
That'll be in episode 10 by then, right?
So anyway, so we got some questions sent in, some more from this week, and then you want to dive into the one that we actually got sent to us on Instagram?
If you guys want to send us questions, we're going to try something a little different. Send us a voice message on Instagram, either in one of our DMs. You can DM AJ at Crafted in NJ, or myself at North Country Woodworking, or even the Sawdust Nation podcast Instagram page. And just send us a DM with your voice recording. Have your handle on there from Instagram. If you want to share your name, please go ahead. And then your question. So our first question is from Como's Woodwork Journey. And he says, let me pull it up real quick.
Hi, this is Noel from Kumo Does Woodwork. I'm looking at making a 60-inch diameter round dining table. For the top, obviously you have to join several boards. So right now, for all the other stuff I've done so far, I've used pocket holes. I've never done glue ups. So, what you recommend for the joining that top? Pocket holes, doing a glue up? If so, do you guys do anything specific, like half and half and put it together, or do the whole piece in one go? Or in addition to that, should I add like biscuits or anything like that to reinforce it, or what would you guys recommend?
So first of all, thank you for sending that. The guy sent us a couple of questions, and I asked him for the audio, and he was like within minutes getting back to us. Thank you very much for that. But what do you think, man? What would be your go-to joining method for a round 60-inch table?
Well, let me first say that any kind of joinery that you do with glue. So if you're besides pocket holes, if you're doing biscuits or dominoes, we'll dive into that a little deeper. You don't want to use too much clamp pressure, then they won't hold at all because you'll actually squeeze out all the glue, and then
or most of the glue.
All. So let me get back into it. So the way I would do it, I want to say there was only a couple projects that I actually used biscuits on, and it was just small little projects, but that was my very first time using them. And what I needed them for was I needed to keep everything aligned, because this was early on before I knew what calls were. And so I kept everything flat. So it kind of helped my little glue ups. But I would probably, just for a price point, if you didn't want to do pocket holes, you would go biscuits. Because one, I think a biscuit is a little bit easier than even a dowel jig, because then you got to get the jig, stand it up on end. And I mean, it's not a pain. You could do it, but I would probably go biscuit over. I would think biscuit and glue over pocket holes. That's just my personal.
I agree. I mean, like it depends if you had a biscuit joiner as well. Mm-hmm. In Como's predicament, he actually reached out and we were talking about biscuit joiners. So he might be in the market for one, might not have one by the time he's building that. You would be able to build that table with pocket holes, no problem. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with it. If even he went that route, it would still come together fairly nice. The biscuit joiner is great, like you said, for aligning and then while you glue up as well. They're not going to give you that much structural support, but when you push those together, it will hold the boards for the most part together level, so you have less sanding, less rough stuff that you're going to have to, smooth out later. I have used biscuit joints in the past with different projects and have started using them more and more just based on the fact that when I align those boards, it's so much easier and they stay in place so much better. I don't have the Fez 2 domino like some people out there. And if you do, good on you. Send it to me. I'd definitely love to use it. But, I have I think it's a portal cable biscuit joiner I got for Christmas last year. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love it. Like, the only thing I do not like about it is the dust collection on it is kind of finicky. But then I went to Rockler and bought their dust collection canister, and they have attachments that fit right on there, and it works just fine. Those kits together work really well. But man, yeah, I would definitely, like AJ said, I'd be going with that whole biscuit and then glue up, semi-reasonable amount of pressure. Even if you were a little paranoid, maybe some coals. What do you think about that?
I probably would do calls just because I trust them now after doing so many glue ups and having them tweak on me or slide on me just from the glue slipping. I've had too many issues where I would probably use calls on almost anything I can just as a security device.
Yeah, in this particular build, personally, what I would do is I'll leave it square, overbuild it, and then, glue it all together so you don't have any issues with, putting any kind of clamps on there. And then when you were done, use whatever device is easiest for you, a router, whatever you have in your inventory, and cut out that circle. And then you can, put whatever edge you want on it with the router. It will be much easier than cutting everything and then putting it together and trying to put in the clamps, which you probably already know this, but, for anyone out there that does not, that's the way I would go about it. Anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is my very first time ever using I almost said a domino, biscuit joiner. It was my father's. I probably used it 15 years ago with him, and the only thing that I took away from it was to make sure that the depth and the cut size matches your biscuit. And actually, the biscuits I picked up do tell you what setting to put your biscuit joiner tool onto so that it cuts the correct depth, the correct width. Because what I did was I cut the biscuit slots and put the biscuit in it, and the biscuits were falling out. And I go like, why is this happening? And when I actually put the pieces together, the biscuits would actually slide within the slot it made because I cut too deep. So I made this oversized slot, and it didn't hold the biscuit whatsoever. So they kind of were there just because I already had the slots made, so I might as well use them. But yeah, that was what I took away.
So that was a feature. See, what you did is account for wood movement.
Even
if it was even if it was you moving the wood.
I was going to say, trust me, there was a lot of wood movement on that glue up. I had everything slipping and sliding all over the place.
I've used it maybe 6-7 times, and I still take the same dimension of wood that I'm about to do the biscuit in, and I go ahead and do test cuts because I'm trying to find that dead center with adjustments. I'm trying to make sure I'm doing it correctly. I threw a biscuit in there and make sure it fits. I'm kind of paranoid about it because, well, I've only used it a half dozen times and I am not that proficient with it. So I go ahead and I make those test cuts because it's a scrap piece of wood anyway. So I can put, 5-6 cuts in it, 2 cuts, 3 cuts each side, depending, the dimension of the piece. And when I get done, I'm dialed in and I am ready to cut the biscuits. I'm not doubting myself when I'm making that cut. I know it's going to be perfect because I've already dialed it in on a scrap piece.
I mean, it's nice to have the nice new fancy tools. I would love to have a domino jig. Would it fit my applications? No, as we speak. So it would kind of just be a waste of money at this point. But if I was into more, furniture building and whatnot, then it would be great to buy something like that because it would be utilized more. But the only thing that I could say about biscuit joinery is it's been around for God knows how long. So it's tried and true. It might not be as nice as a domino or a dowel, where it's as tight, but they work, and for the stuff that we're doing, a biscuit joint would be perfect for it. And if you set it up correctly, you do your test cuts, you make sure that you're dialed in right. Once you are, that tool, if you don't change it, it'll do what you need it to, for that glue up. Now, if you go to a larger Biscuit, because they do have sizes. They have, I don't remember how many sizes.
They have a SS, a 0, I think, a 10, a 20. And I don't know if they go any higher than that.
I don't remember. I think I have zeros downstairs.
I know they have 10 and 20 in SS. The 0, I would have to go look at the my biscuit cutter real quick because I have 10 and 20, and that's what I use.
It's definitely, worth giving it a shot. And the other thing is, I go on Facebook Marketplace like an addict, and I go on there and I see biscuit joints, biscuit tools on there constantly. From DeWalt to Porter Cable to every name brand you can think of, people are getting rid of them for cheap, and they work. So if you find one as a good deal, might as well pick it up and give it a shot.
Most of my tool shopping starts at Marketplace or eBay or any of those kind of online yard sale pages. Let's put it as what it is. It depending on the tool, I definitely will go used. Some tools though, I don't know what it is. I definitely want new, but it's very rare that that's the case.
Definitely. No, I was going to say more precision tools you want to buy new because you don't know how they've been used and abused.
Exactly. And even there's some cases where that's not even the case. Because if you're looking for a plane, some of the older planes have been better made because of the metal they were actually cast from and hold the edge longer. I am talking about the Stanley, Sleeharts, and stuff like that. They're metal and their blades just last much longer. Now, I don't have them. That's all hearsay from people I talk to that do a lot more hand planing than myself. You're going to want to build that with what you have. Don't be ashamed if you're going to do, pocket holes at all. I still do pocket holes in some builds depending on what I'm doing.
I mean, it works. Now, the only thing I would steer clear of is he didn't mention anything about legs on it, correct? It was just about how to join the top together.
Yeah, he didn't mention anything about legs. There are different ways you can go about joining the legs to the table. I think that's where you're leading.
Yeah, because of that coffee table build that I did, that pocket holes on everything. Pocket holes, the top, the bottom, the legs to the top. And I learned the hard way that wood moves big time because that thing popped bad. And I think it scared my mother and father-in-law. And so I needed to join the top to the legs a little bit different. But that's for another episode on how to join tops to legs.
Yeah, that could definitely get into. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about doing that as well. We have another one from Como's Workshop Journey. And he's talking about when working with slabs and cookies. What a cookie is the end grain, essentially, of a cross-cut log. And he asks, do you remove the bark? I have a slice of a tree that another maker who was getting out of the Marine Corps sold to me and the rest of his wood, and I have no idea what to do with it. Personally, what I would do, depending on the dimensions of the piece you have, how dry that piece was, I would go ahead and probably, make a little coffee table. Make a little end table with it. You can start, if you haven't worked with a little bit of epoxy, fill in the gaps, maybe do a bow tie in there. This might be a great opportunity for you to expand your knowledge working with, I don't want to say rough lumber, rough hardwood, I guess you could say. What I know from live trees like that, live slabs, if the bark is holding on when it's dried, you might be able to save it by applying epoxy around it to keep it. If it ain't, take it off. You don't want to, have a piece that's completely done and the bark fall off on you. What do you know, man? What's your feels on this?
I haven't really worked with, I'll be honest, I don't work with a lot of live edge stuff. I have a couple pieces downstairs that are just begging to get worked on, but, it never seems like the right time. But when I read this question, I would remove the bark. The reason being is my luck, like you said, it would fall off no matter how hard I tried. And in all honesty, it's that I would want that to get all like the debris out from underneath the bark, whatever it might be, the dirt, whatever. Because once you start cleaning that out, you're going to disturb the bark. You're probably going to make it fall off. So why not just take it off, clean the edge up nice, and then you can have you could sand it all nice, still keep the live edge look, but then you won't have the bark to worry about. I have seen a couple of like coffee tables with the bark on it, but a majority of live edge slabs that I've ever seen always, had the bark come off of it. So I would do that just because that's what I've seen.
It's extremely rare for it to dry out and have the bark hold on. That's why, I mean, like, if it does, great, you're going to have a unique piece. If it doesn't, it's okay. Honestly, I'm at the stage now where most of the pieces that come into the workshop, I remove the bark before they come in. That way, any kind of, hidden insects or anything crazy, I can just get rid of right there at the front door and don't have to worry about it.
It's definitely, that's the first thing that I thought of because my OCD would be killing me, going that there's something that's hidden that I'm not going to be able to see. I'm going to put this in my garage or basement, and now next thing I know, I'm infested with something. So might as well just take it off to begin with.
Okay, well, we have another question from Briar Woodworks. You want to go ahead and read that one?
So Briar's Woodworks sent a question in. He's asking that he has his first slabs and he wants to know how to break them down to work with them the best way without major tools to flatten them. And he only has an orbital sander and belt sander. The way I've seen them flattened was, with router flattening jigs. If it's a smaller piece, I could throw it on the CNC as well and flatten it that way. But, thinking of an orbital sander or a belt sander, I guess if it's not tweaked a lot and you don't have cupping, you don't have a lot of bow to it or anything, a belt sander with a low grit sandpaper, you could probably go at it pretty good and flatten a majority of it and then work your way up in the grits and then do an orbital sander later on. I don't know how else you'd flatten it. Because if it's real bad, I don't know if a belt sander is really going to work for it.
So in his question, he asked how to break them down as well. You don't need major tools to break down the slab and get them flat. And it really honestly depends what you're going to do with them. But, you can use your table saw to break them down. You can use your circular saw to break them down. Use what you have. Obviously be safe. There's 100 different ways you could do this, but to get them flat, that becomes really tricky. If you have a router, you can make a sled no matter what size it is, and that will be a jig that you can continue to process slabs. It might be something you want to invest in because this sounds like something you're getting into. You want a good router, and you're going to want to make that jig. That's going to be your best bet to get it flat. Now, I know of a woodworker, I can't remember his name, he's one of the older generation, that uses a belt sander to flatten a majority of his work. But it is a skill that you have to kind of learn. You have to be careful that there's no debris or buildup underneath the belt where the flat metal piece is, because then you're going to get a little divot there. You got to make sure, it's tensioned right, you're changing out the sandpaper accordingly. If you can have some kind of dust collection port attached to it, that's going to help, stretch your sandpaper out just a little bit more as well. This sounds like an undertaking that you're really wanting to do. You're going to have to get creative. Hopefully you have a router. Just get a slab flattening bit. They're not that expensive. And try the jig first. If that is something that you're not interested in or trying to set up, go ahead, DM one of us, and we'll try to talk with you about other options there are. Because doing a little research, I'm sure there are plenty of options out there we're not thinking of right now. But most of the top ones have, CNC machine, a router jig, or, you can do it with the sander. It's just going to be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I was just thinking also an electric hand plane too. If you had one of those, I see, not many use it, but I have one that I borrowed from my pops, and I had to use it on a couple of projects. And I was thinking, instead of driving myself crazy and making my router jig to flatten it, maybe I just try that on a small section and see how well it comes out. Maybe I can get it to flat enough that it's not, 100% dead flat, but flat enough that then I may be able to sand it with a low grit sandpaper and kind of knock down those high spots. So if you do have one of those, or you find one cheap, then maybe even give that a shot too.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That should be a great way to get it flat. I mean, if you did it right, I think most of them are about 3 inches or so. When I say 3 inches, 3 inches wide.
Yeah, I believe it's 3 inches or so.
Yeah, that gives you enough where it's going to help you get a majority of it flat. It's a good amount of space. And I also forgot to mention hand planes. People have been flattening pieces of wood for generations with hand planes. It might be difficult and you might be there for a couple of days, but there are ways to do it, man.
Yeah, there's tons of different ways, and I guarantee a little search from on YouTube, if you can't find the answer, what?
YouTube? Who uses YouTube?
Sorry, the YouTube.
There we go.
The intraweb on my dial-up router. No, I don't even know if we had routers back then. I don't remember. I was too young.
Well, you pick up the phone, it's done anyway, so.
Yeah, well, once you pick up the phone, then you can't go online and look up all the woodworking stuff on the YouTube. But anyway.
Well, I guess we know what this episode's called.
The YouTube or the interwebs. So, but yeah, you can log on to the thing called Google and type it in. You can find a ton of stuff online. If you message us and we don't have the correct answer, then we could even find it out for you, but YouTube is, man, that's how I found out a lot of stuff. If I didn't know, I just go on there and I type in some things and I come up with random ways to do that same task that would have taken, I was overthinking it and they go, well, just do it this way and you're done. So, but the hand plane, I was thinking that when we were talking, I'm going, well, you could use regular hand planes, but you're going to be there for quite some time.
That's one hell of a workout. So
you'll get your hand plane technique down. That's for damn sure.
And sharpening, you'd be a master.
Oh. The only other thing with how to break the pieces down, you were saying the circ saw, that would definitely be, if you're limited, definitely be the easiest way, especially not knowing how wide they are. Yeah. Because you don't want to put a 20-inch wide piece on your table saw and run it through there just to break it down.
No.
So, but yeah, so we got another question from Briars as well. He said he's about to make the business official and he wants to know how we keep track of everything. I have enough orders and all lined up. I believe I need to open up an LLC or sole proprietorship. Sorry if I screwed that up. But anyway, he just wanted to know how you guys are operating and how you keep track of your expenses and profits. I just want to say I laughed at the very end of that with the expenses and profits because my expenses and profits are kind of in my head like everything else. So I don't have, I keep saying I want to make a list of the stuff I sold, the stuff I bought, and not so much material wise, but more shop tools, to see what I spent. I'm not in this to, make a huge gain. I'm kind of in this because it's a passion of mine, just like yours. But I want to see what my tool cost is compared to how much I made from these projects.
Let's be honest. We do woodworking and sell it so we could buy more tools.
Of course. And when your wife asks you how much you spent on that nice new joiner, you tell her, I found it on Facebook Marketplace for $50.
Yeah, great deal. I just had to go to that Rockler place and pick it up. That's where we met.
Some guy sold it to me. I don't know where, but he sold it to me.
You were speaking so fast and you know what to say.
Hey, the next thing I know, it's just in the back of my truck, and I just drove away with it, so I have it now.
I was in a cold sweat the entire time home trying to think of the story. I agree. To hit on your LLC, it's really what you want to do with your business hobby. We haven't done either one of those yet. This is still enough of a hobby we can keep it in that realm. I mean, I think we have talked to LLC and how we keep track of things in previous episodes. Essentially, I use Excel. I need to get better about the same thing, my expenses versus profits. It's tracked in there, but very loosely. It's mostly what each project cost, what the price of the project was, and then I'll have like a rough profit. That doesn't include, the new 3D printer that's sitting on my desk. But yeah, I mean, it's still enough of a hobby where I haven't really dove into the LLC, the sole proprietorship yet. It's probably coming up here within probably the next year or so. But I can't really dive into that too far for you just for that reason, because I'm still learning about it myself. And to give you the correct answer, I would want to be knowledgeable about it. So I would have to go ahead and refer you to Dr. Google or the Google. And, DM us again. We can hit on it together. And if you go down that road, I do know some people that have an LLC. I don't know about the sole proprietorship yet. And I can definitely get you in contact with them. And I know they'll be happy to help you out. So,
yeah, I was thinking about it only because, as you get a little deeper into this,
this came back from a search.
my Google decided to help.
You mean the government's now listening? I make no money on this, and yeah. So anyway,
just for fun.
Yeah.
It's all for fun.
Yeah, just for fun. For fun. I just give my stuff away for free. I pay them.
Please take what I built for you.
So, but for an LLC, I was actually talking with my pops about it because it hit my brain and went, should I do something like this? Should I become more like 100% legit? And we threw it up in the air. As we speak right now, I'm nowhere near that. So it's if you really broke it down, it's more of a hobby than anything else. So I'm not at the stage where I kind of have to worry about it right this second. Like you said, in a year from now, I'm going to see where I'm at. Did it really take off? And will I need to go a more legal route? And once I do, then, of course, if you haven't done anything by that time, then I'm going to share my info with you, because I actually want to speak to somebody who knows more about this and see what their take is. Now, if they come back and say, you should do it like tomorrow, and here's the reasons why, I probably would, only because if it would benefit me, right now. So that's kind of my answer.
Yeah, I know this really didn't answer, what you wrote in about, but it's better for us to give you, this vague answer if we really don't know, because we're not in that scenario, than give you some advice and, misinform you. And that's what we're not doing here. We're trying to inform people about what we do know, and then how you can figure out the best answer. So thank you for writing that in, and I'm sure we'll have further conversation about those later on a podcast sometime. Well, thank you for joining us for our 5th episode of Sawdust Nation. We appreciate you guys stopping by and giving us a listen. Remember, you can always submit questions at our Instagram pages, Crafted at New Jersey for AJ and North Country Woodworking for me. If you want to hit up our Instagram page for Sawdust Nation Podcast, you can hit us up there, or our email at sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com. Lastly, if you're going to submit questions and you want your voice aired, make sure you give us a voice message on Instagram and we'll air it. We love them. We want to air more. We need your help. So please go ahead and do that for us.
Yeah, send us your questions, anything that you have. Feedback is always welcome as well, even if you tell us that you don't like my voice and you don't want to hear me anymore. But anyway, this has been another episode of Sawdust Nation. Josh is laughing because I make him laugh every episode. And,
okay, I make you cry, so we're even.
Yes, we make each other feel different emotions. No, that sounded extremely wrong. So at this point, I'm going to end it, and I'm going to say you guys have a great week.
We'll talk to you next time. See ya.
See ya.